Before Monsters University, the prequel to the comedic Pixar classic Monsters Inc. came out, I don't think anyone was ready for just how deep this film was going to go into the ideas of privilege, self-confidence, and just the struggles of reality in general. This film gets thrown to the side by a lot of people for being a simple prequel that isn't as funny, creative, or exciting as the original, which, yeah, I agree with that, but this film does something that Monsters Inc. doesn't. It tears you to shreds over the reality of Mike Wazowski's character. This film very easily could have just been a short and basic animated film with a climax happening just shy of the 1 hour and 15-minute mark. Had they just left us with Mike's success and given us a 15-minute conclusion, you'd have an hour-and-a-half long prequel to Monsters Inc. that doesn't make you think or feel anything. It would have been very dry of creativity. But what this film does at the hour and 15-minute mark is one of the greatest turnarounds to a Pixar film ever. The only reason this movie is even considered to be held in high regard to me is because of Mike Wazowski's character arc and the message that gets portrayed through his insanely high confidence. Monsters University has a rather simple plot. We have our hero, Mike Wazowski, a scare major at Monsters University, which, now that I think about it, is a pretty basic name for a university in the Monsters world. Like, imagine a university in the real world called Human University. Mike doesn't have the privilege of being a naturally scary monster, so he has to work harder than all of his scary peers. But despite being told by the dean's face that he isn't scary and being kicked out of the scaring program, Mike doesn't let his dream go. In fact, he makes a bet with Hardscrabble, saying that if his team wins the scare games, she must let him back into the program. But if he loses, he's kicked out of school. And that's when the bulk of the story takes place, with the obstacles being the games of the scare games and having to work with this group. The story fits into like the most basic form of the hero's journey plotline ever. Mike's team is gonna win, Hardscrabble is gonna admit that she was wrong, and Mike will go on to show the world that no matter your shape, size, or appearance, you can be a good scarer too. Ka-chow. And that's exactly what happened. Actually, no, that's not what happens. This is when the film gets really serious. This is when it gets confirmed that Mike is objectively unscary simply because of the way he was born. And not just from the scare simulator, when Mike encounters actual kids, they quickly declare that he is not scary, which, by the way, like, by no means is Mike scary compared to any other monster, but like, if I saw that dang thing in my living room. The message of this movie isn't trying to appeal to that once-in-a-lifetime miracle fantasy that we're all used to seeing in movies. It's showing us a really sad and accurate portrayal of what life is like. No matter how many books he reads or how many A's he gets, he is never going to be as good as any of these other monsters who were born with something that he simply doesn't have. And for Mike, it probably hurts to see someone like Sully throw his chances away, getting bad grades on tests and not listening to the basic rules of scaring because of his large ego. But what Mike learns from this is that through the troubles of finding out that you've been searching your whole life for something unattainable, you can discover something that is attainable and something that you love. For Mike, it's helping people reach their potential, and that's exactly where we're led to in Monsters Inc. I think this movie is something I really like and something that I wanted to make a video about because Mike's struggles remind me a lot of myself. So if you don't care about my personal life, I don't blame you. You can skip to the next timestamp. A good while ago, I was determined that the thing that would make me happy is if I became a music artist. I liked writing lyrics and creating melodies. I didn't know any instruments at the time, but I was willing to learn some if it meant that I could make songs that inspire people for generations. That dream ended a good while ago because I don't know if you could tell or not, but I don't really have the voice of an angel. I was born with something that puts me at a disadvantage to other people pursuing the same dream as me. No matter how much I tried, I was never going to be as good as someone who didn't have to because they were naturally born with a good singing voice. But hey, this isn't all just a sob story because just like Mike, in doing this, I realized what I do like, which is writing. Dude, I literally wrote a whole freaking book that honestly has a very similar message to Monsters University now that I think about it. You should go buy it, it's really good. I'd say that the only difference between me and Mike is that Mike has confidence. Even in things that I've proven to be at least decent at, like making YouTube videos or writing stories, I still always feel that crippling self-doubt creeping down my spine. And it all comes from the exact same thing that Mike should have been scared of. The competition. Why would someone watch my videos if they could watch someone else explain the exact same thing in a much more funny, better, and just concise way? I don't have the time to upload as often, so why would someone spend time investing in my videos when they can watch someone who does this as their job and has all the time in the world to make videos? Why would a publishing company pick my book when they could pick a better book that was written by someone professional and not edited by their mother? And I don't bring any of this up to grab for pity. These are all just genuine things that I thought about when I watched Mike on screen and realized that he has never felt any of that. He assumed that if he wanted it so badly, he could show the world that Mike Wazowski is special. Mike Wazowski, unlike me I guess, is fearless. He has the guts to go through all the humiliation and work if he knows that there's even a chance that he'll make it out with what he wants. That kind of dedication is exactly what gets people to their end goal, in a perfect world, that is. And that's the whole point of this movie. Having confidence in yourself is healthy, but when it becomes too much to the point where you're pursuing a fantasy, you're just gonna end up hurting yourself in the end. And it's not even like Mike had a giant ego. He was aware that he had a disadvantage, but confident that he could push through it.
This is probably one of the greatest things to teach to children who are told all the time you can be anything you want as a kid, because unfortunately, life isn't as easy as that.
But what you can do is discover something obtainable that brings you just as much joy. Despite all the good stuff about how this movie deals with privilege and whatnot, it's nowhere near a perfect movie. Like I mentioned before, the film fits the most basic bare-bones definition of a hero's journey plotline, which doesn't make it bad, especially since they broke out of it by the end, but it leaves us with a movie that for the most part is very predictable and basic, but has an incredible ending. Also, for how good of a message this movie has, some of it kinda gets thrown away during the conclusion when Uzma Kappa gets let back into the scaring program. Like, I thought the whole point of this movie was that settling is something okay. I mean, the entire group had already kind of given up on their scaring dreams. And at the very end, when Mike tells them, "You guys are the scariest monsters I've ever met," like, what does that mean? I was confused by this line when I saw it as a kid, and I still don't get it. Like, if Uzma Kappa was saying this to Mike, it would make sense, sort of, but I don't really get what sentiment Mike is trying to go for here. Also, I don't know where else to throw this in, but like, the way that Roar Omega threw Uzma Kappa under the bus for no reason at all was really dumb. Like, they obviously are not a threat to you. You guys are just being bullies. But honestly, none of that really bothers me at the end of the day. This very easily could have just been a really basic hero's journey film, start to finish. The fact that it even switched up at the end is pretty insane. I'm sure Monsters University is only going to get more and more prevalent in my life since I just started college. And hey, since I am a college student, that means I'm broke. You should subscribe to my channel so I can get monetization. I really enjoy making these videos, so it really does mean a lot if you subscribe. I'll see ya in Radiator Springs.